Ah, man, it just doesn't end. Bungie have been under fire for over almost 2 weeks now. It almost seems like every single day there's a new thing. And now Destin, who is the gentleman that we've got on stream right now, if you guys don't know Destin, then you might not know the Destiny community as well as what you think you do. This man is actually one of us. He's one of the veteran Destiny players. So I'll be very interested to see what he has to say. But according to the title of his video, devs actually speak out. I don't know if I think they're ex-devs. Yeah, they're former devs that work for Bungie. And obviously because they don't work for Bungie anymore, they'll probably give us some more inside information as to what actually is the problem. My guess is what it always is, the leadership. This might just be another repeat of what we already know, which is leadership seems to be the main problem and the main culprit of the main problems that happen at Destiny. But yeah, I want to see what Destin says. I do value his opinion. He is a veteran Destiny player. So let's just see what goes on. But yeah, man, it's just it literally is what is next. You're almost beating a dead horse at this point. Marathon is buried a little bit right now. So I'm interested to see how Bungie actually kind of revive it back to life. But anyway, it's a 9-minute and 40-second long video. I don't want to waste too much of your time. Let's just crack on. I might pause some bits throughout the video just to kind of give my opinion as well. But let's see what Destin has to say.
For the last several days, Bungie has been bearing the brunt of the backlash for the Marathon art theft allegations, and rightfully so.
Yep.
In my opinion, the entire aesthetic of the game is clearly inspired by the artist.
Yeah, it's one-to-one.
To the point I can't see it without seeing
it is everywhere
influence. And Bungie is going to need to contend with the fact that their studio has now been given the nickname Art Raiders.
That's so unfortunate.
Grim for their extraction shooter. Beyond that story, I started digging into Bungie a bit more after public statements were made from former employees. I reported on these yesterday as they described a work environment tainted by toxic management. Today, after speaking with a handful of ex-employees, the picture painted wasn't much brighter.
Right.
One person said, "The solution lies in holding leadership accountable." Another ex-employee
as expected
said, "I hope they get consolidated into Sony.
Damn.
That's the path forward."
I wonder what that would actually look like, because I've seen a lot of people comment on my videos and say in my live streams that Destiny was better when it was under Activision, and I actually completely disagree. I actually do disagree with that, because we had the Final Shape, which is just under Bungie. Keep in mind, as much as Sony did acquire Bungie during the development of the Final Shape was already pretty much good to go. They just added some bits at the end. So I wonder what that would actually look like if they got fully taken over by Sony, because Sony is I don't really know how much Sony knows about the game. I don't know how much Sony would know about the lore of the game. I don't know if they would just keep on the people that work for Bungie, or if they would just replace everyone at Bungie. I do not know. But one thing I do know is, as a veteran Destiny player, being under the Activision publisher back in the day when it came to Bungie and Destiny, it wasn't good. Curse of Osiris was the smallest map location we've ever got in the history of Destiny. The story wasn't that great, and then you got Warmind, which also wasn't great after that as well. Based on what we know and love with Activision, I don't know how much a Sony consolidation would actually, I don't know how much that would mean, but I guess we'll find out.
Since 2023, Bungie has reduced their headcount by roughly 320 employees.
Yeah, that's true.
And that number doesn't include the 155 roles that were integrated into Sony, or the departures of senior staff who I'm guessing were given a payday as they exited the company.
One thing that I'll just say on the back of that as well is, before Final Shape released, basically Bungie prepped us all mentally to say, look, there might be some layoffs if the Final Shape doesn't do good. Final Shape did exceptionally well. It was genuinely the best-selling expansion I think they've ever made. The Final Shape hit records. It was even up for the expansion of Destiny was up for Game of the Year. It was huge. It was a success. That is fact. Regardless of what your feelings and opinions are, it is a fact that the Final Shape was a success, and they still laid people off.
The internal picture painted was one of a cool kids club where you were either agreeing with leadership's
the camera
vision,
focusing,
or you were put on a list,
my face is really bright,
and told your ideas didn't matter. If they didn't think of it, it wasn't worth doing, one ex-employee told me. Another claimed leaders were toxic and shut down creatives on a core level, which corroborated the unfortunate story we heard yesterday. The kind of ideas that I'm being told leadership pitched aren't surprising, but are concerning as a longtime player and fan of Bungie.
Yeah.
In one meeting, adding a subscription to Destiny was brought up only to be vehemently shut down by staff.
Yeah, that's
Another
mad.
former employee claimed there was a concern about Trials of Osiris PvP armor being too attractive with its glow effect. The worry was that it was
What?
too good and would impact Eververse sales.
That's mad. There's two really huge points there. One, they tried to go down the WoW route and include a monthly subscription to pay to play Destiny. And then they basically say that the Trials of Osiris gear was way too appealing for players, which may influence the Eververse sales. That's mad. That's actually fucked up. So basically, with that one sentence alone, they're basically saying we only want the good armor to be paid for armor. Therefore, every armor that you earn in game should not be as good as the armor that you pay for, which is fucked. That is such a backwards, delusional, almost like, it's just mad. That is such a shit mindset to have.
The Eververse, for those who don't know, is the store where you convert real money into silver and then purchase in-game cosmetics. Another ex-employee also recounted a meeting where staff was given a huge monetization scolding. Everything happening to Bungie is because of greed, another employee said. Clearly, the state of Destiny 2, and therefore Bungie, was and still is at a critical point in their history. Rumors continue to swirl since this turmoil began in 2023.
And it's so shit because Bungie actually managed to capitalize and completely take over on the live service platform. Like, they were the leading company for that, and it just went so downhill so quickly.
Claims swirling like the rumor that leaders were given multi-million-dollar penthouses to use as crash pads, something many former employees believed Bungie was footing the bill for.
That's mad.
And if that was the story being told internally, it's easy to see why a lack of competitive pay, cut corners, and needed positions never being filled led to many seeking new employment. Bungie's problems stem from a lack of player empathy, disconnected leadership, and a corporate-first culture, one former employee said. Thankfully, when pressed to talk about the positive impact, some names did come up. I do want to specify that I can thankfully say Jason Jones, for example, was one person I inquired about, and sources told me he wasn't around much, but on sabbatical for personal reasons.
Right, okay.
In addition, many felt Eric Osborne was a great leader who got a bad
What about
ending.
Pete Parsons?
Louis Villegas was also described as being well-liked, and Joe Blackburn, who left last year, cared like nobody else.
Yeah, Joe was a good
But
one.
in addition to the good, I was told about the bad, and unprompted and universally
Joe was
HR
so good.
was highlighted as a major problem.
We lost so many good people. We lost Katarina. We lost Chris Proctor. We lost Joe Blackburn. Chris Proctor was a 10 out of 10 guy, man. Oh my god. At some point, we lost DMG. Obviously, he's come back, but we lost DMG. We've lost a lot of good people at Bungie, unfortunately.
Each person I spoke with expressed anger at a specific individual who has since left the company. Ex-employees claimed that HR was working in their own interest, and there were accusations that issues of harassment were being covered up so that HR could get a multi-million-dollar exit. To give you some context about just how much that Sony deal was worth to employees, we can glean a bit from the Christopher Barrett lawsuit against Bungie. There, we can see that he was set to make $84 million due to the status of the HR person in question.
Fucking hell.
$84 million, but one employee estimated they were due around $5 million.
That's
Former
mad.
staff described being closely monitored on social media, not just for commenting about layoffs or company issues, but also for things as simple as promoting the work they had done at Bungie. If you did speak out publicly about either a personal issue or you promoted your own work, you could expect an email as soon as 15 minutes later to hit your inbox, one person claimed.
What?
Employees were warned against promoting themselves publicly, one ex-employee said. And as for the legacy issues, one guessed, the problems have just shifted to Marathon instead.
That's mad. So they don't even want you promoting yourselves publicly. It's almost like they got you tied down on chains. You work for us. You do the work for us. We tell you what work we want you to do for us. And the moment you so much as even try to branch out publicly, we're gonna send you a cheeky email because we don't want that to happen. We don't want people to know about you. We don't want other people to see the work you do. And we don't want you promoting yourselves in any way whatsoever. You belong to us. That is unbelievably toxic.
Ironically, the one thing that helped the situation was Marathon, mostly because leaders who were difficult to work with at Bungie were moved to work on Marathon. But that also meant other employees, such as those from the Sony side, with little or no game development experience, took that place.
Damn.
And all of this has caused structural issues that severely undermine the studio's culture, decision-making, and the final
They're
product.
cutting corners, basically.
Games weren't games anymore, they were products. Players weren't players anymore, they were customers.
Damn.
And that subtle tonal shift was felt. Now, we've all seen the fallout from the Sony Bungie deal and Bungie's 45% revenue miss. A miss like that means developer jobs and cut corners,
Yep.
but even the former employees feel like a lot of us do. They just want to see Bungie do better.
Yeah, we all say
One
that.
former employee said, "It makes me sad to know there are so many talented people that can make great things, but are still answering to management that can't stop shooting themselves in the foot. They make bad decision after bad decision. It's not even surprising when a news story breaks." Another lamented,
We feel that as the community. I am not your customer. I am your player. Okay, I play the games you make. I'm not a customer of your product. That does sound a little bit shit, but at the same time, we as the community, we definitely feel what Destin's just said here. I just want the devs to be okay.
I just want the devs to be okay.
It's so
I
sad,
tweeted
isn't
this
it?
publicly a few years back, and I'm saying this is my personal take on the whole situation. The buck stops with leadership, and that leader is CEO Pete Parsons.
Yep,
After
there's the
hearing
name.
this, I stand by my statement made in frustration that said it's clear Bungie can't succeed with him at the helm. And every time we hear a new story, that becomes even more clear.
Yep.
I know a lot of people at Bungie, and I agree that I want them to be okay. But something quite clearly needs to change. Sony knows this. Bungie knows this. I think we all know this too. And at this point, that
The
change is
devs
either
just
gonna
don't really have a
happen,
say, it
or
feels
Bungie
like.
as we know it is done. Maybe it already is. Originally, this all kicked off because of an art plagiarism scandal, and I wanted to provide an update. The Reed Southern allegation involved the leaked concept for Destiny that used his work. He said, "I was never contacted by anyone at Bungie over it. It's been 13 years, so my memory is a bit fuzzy, but I've been led to believe that it was outside marketing or a contractor or something doing internal pitch work. It was a leak, so it's likely it was never meant to see the light of day, whether it was Bungie's work or a contractor's, but I've never been given an official explanation." Tofu Bunny was all about the Nerf gun.
Oh yeah,
that
we've
listed
seen
their
this. I mentioned
concept.
this in my
I
video.
can't go into specifics, but I can say that we did reach an agreement I was happy with. Hasbro took responsibility for the situation. Bungie acted as a contact to put me in touch with them. I have nothing but positive things to say about the Hasbro team and all the community managers that talked
That's
to me.
good.
They contacted me the day after my initial tweet and worked to resolve the situation quickly. They handled everything smoothly and were very polite, respectful, and apologetic.
That's awesome. That's
Tofu
good to know.
didn't think
But
this
again, that's
case was
Hasbro, not
comparable
Bungie.
to the marathon situation. They said, "In my case, it was one design being lifted for the product. Well, in the marathon case, an artist's entire visual identity is being ripped off and widely used to establish a massive part of the game's style. This is much bigger and much worse."
I'm so glad that Tofu actually said this, because this is someone that has been subject to plagiarism before, but obviously on a smaller scale. And I actually mentioned this in my video. I didn't realize that Tofu made a quote saying this, otherwise I would have said that. I also basically said the exact same thing, because like Tofu says, Tofu's design was of an ornament, which is a pick and choose. Do I want this? Do I not want this? If you don't want this, you'll never ever see it. Whereas with the marathon case, it's plastered all over the game. So I'm glad that Tofu actually said that.
Julian Fayola, whose
Yeah,
depiction
and
of
we
the
saw this
witness
as
was
well.
used in a cutscene, said, "Yes, it has been resolved. I guess I'm satisfied with the outcome and the amount paid, which is significant for just one piece
That's
that was
good.
used."
That's good.
Relay 314's case has been discussed publicly. Bungie did credit him for his work. Cosmo said, "We have reached out to them and got permission to use their work and are now crediting them for this awesome community depiction of Xivu Wrath." Relay responded
Oh
saying,
yeah, this is a I don't know if you guys know, but there was a cinematic for the Witch Queen campaign, and part of that cinematic, I think it was Witch Queen at least, but part of the cinematic was some artwork that you see on the table. I think it's Ikora's desk or one of the Hidden's desk. And it's like a depiction of Xivu Arath, and that depiction of Xivu Arath was not created by a Bungie artist. That was created by a member of the community. And it was actually a really fantastic piece of artwork as well.
"Thanks so much for reaching out to me over the weekend and being an absolute gem of a community manager, Cosmo." And Anti-Real, the most recent case, I have not yet received comment from, but she told Gene Park at the Washington Post that the response this time has been overwhelmingly understanding, and I'm extremely thankful for the...
Let me read the first part, because he cut the first part off. "I kind of had to learn to shut up about these cases because they happen so consistently over the past 10 years, she said. It was tiring to be viewed as someone who complained more than as an artist, but the response this time has been overwhelmingly understanding, and I'm extremely thankful for the support." That's, again, good. People should not be viewed as someone that's just complaining, especially when you are the talent that's being ripped off. You're not just the artist, you are the talent. You know what I mean? And that, needs to be remembered.
The support. All in all, this whole story is really unfortunate.
Very much
and I
so.
hope Bungie does figure out what's going on at their company, but things aren't looking great right now.
Nope.
If you are one of the people who spoke to me anonymously, thank you. And if you have a story to share about this or another situation, my DMs are open. And of course, you can always reach me at thedestinedchannel@gmail.com. If you've watched this far, thank you. Please consider hitting that subscribe button, hitting that bell to know when my content goes live. I do greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much to the members who support.
Alright guys, I'm gonna leave it there. If you guys want to watch this video and show some support, I'll put it in the description below. I need to sort out this camera, man. I need to just raise it up ever so slightly higher. But anyway, yeah, mad. Oh god, this video was uploaded yesterday. I wonder what's gonna be uploaded today. I really don't know, but at the end of the day, it doesn't look good for Bungie. And here's the thing, like, I just want to kind of shed my last final thoughts on this before I just close this off, because this is so fucking exhausting now. But the developers at Bungie are not the problem. I mean, sure, there might be the odd one or two that causes the issues, like the plagiarism and things like that, but we shouldn't be summing up this one situation as every single developer that works for Bungie, because there are a lot of fantastic, talented people that work for Bungie that absolutely cannot stand the fact that this is coming out right now, because they're actively working on a game every single day that they love so much, that they literally make a living from, of their lives, to support their family, support their kids, pay their bills, that aren't involved in this in any malicious way whatsoever, that are just being tainted in the most disgusting, horrible light by the community. When you specifically specify Bungie, you're also collectively bringing together everyone underneath that as well, including all of the good people that just aren't part of this. And that's the sad thing, because again, there are some fantastic people at Bungie that do some amazing work, and I love the games and the content that these people create. And it's just sad to see this. You're gonna get a bad apple wherever you go. You're gonna get that one person everywhere you go. Sadly, it's hard to avoid that. How you mitigate the damage is obviously the main part of it. Bungie obviously haven't come out about anything with the anti-roll stuff just yet. Obviously, they made a comment acknowledging it, and they made a live stream acknowledging it, but we don't actually know what the resolution is just yet. I obviously, again, hope that anti-roll get the support that she needs and gets the payment that she deserves, and maybe even gets hired by Bungie, because, like I said, she is the talent. That's the aesthetic of the game that they're going for, and she's the talent that created it. Therefore, maybe give her a job. But at the same time, let's not tarnish and discredit and forget the fact that we also have some pretty fantastic people at Bungie that absolutely hate the fact that this is going on, that they are not involved whatsoever, but by default they are because they work for Bungie. And my heart goes out to them, because again, I've never met anyone at Bungie, but I'm sure there are some amazing people there, and it just sucks to see a company that you love so much just get shunned down like this in such a harsh, daily way at this point. And it all just seems to come down to the upper management, and it's the same shit with Bungie. Whenever something comes out, it's always management. But yeah, it is what it is, guys. I'm gonna throw it back to you. Let me know what your thoughts and opinions are in the comment section below. What's next? I wonder what is next. Bungie, get your fucking leadership together. See you later, guys.